Hey, we've got Jason Priester from allclemsontigers.com with us. He's the lead recruiting analyst. And in this final segment of this three-part interview, we are going to talk about Clemson's 2024 class, but specifically the defensive players. I want to dive into them with Jason. If you're not already, be sure to follow Jason on Twitter. He's a great follow. He's got a lot of good nuggets. Jason, let's just start at the top-rated guy, and let's just work our way down. And we can pick up speed as we go. But let's start with Sammy Brown, a five-star, a .9923, and the more detailed 247 composite. He's fast enough to play, the Sam. But I think given what he does in high school, and he's 6'2", 230, I think he's a future weak side linebacker. That's the will in the Clemson's defense. Kind of reminds me of a bigger Barrett Carter. What are your thoughts on him?
Oh, I think he is a game changer. I think at our show yesterday, I was tripping on myself and saying off ball, but I was absolutely meaning weak side.
Yeah.
I like to fumble over my words sometimes, but yeah, that's where I see him too. At the wheel, weak side. I think he can excel there. He is. Clemson needed to hit on a big time linebacker in this class. You could potentially lose Barrett Carter and Jeremiah Trotter after this season. And they did that with Sammy Brown. I think he's a guy that can come in and play right away. He is exceptionally fast, sideline to sideline, north, south. There are some people that think he could play running back at the Power 5 level. He's rushed for over 3,500 yards in his high school career. He's got that twitch you love to see. And he's a multi-sport guy, man. He wrestles, back-to-back gold medals in wrestling. He excels at track and field. I mean, he just does a little bit of everything. But his coverage skills are already exceptional for a guy, just entering a senior season in high school. When you watch him, you don't really see any weaknesses. And that's something you don't say much about high school guys.
Yeah, and I think when you see that he's 6'3", 200 – or excuse me, 6'2", 230. You just don't expect him to be so fast, but he is. Jeremiah Trotter's smaller than him, and so is Barrett Carter, and I think he's got the speed like them too. And they'll both be departing when he comes in, so he'll still have to compete with some guys, including Kobe McLeod and others. But I don't know if he'll start immediately, but he's going to be in that rotation, I think, pretty quick. And it could be a kind of that Travis Etienne situation where he's not the starter, but a few games in, you start realizing this guy's the best, and by the end of the season, he's the starter.
Yeah, I don't ever like to say a freshman's going to come in and start immediately, but I absolutely see him into too deep, and it would not shock me at all if he was starting sooner rather than later. And, we're talking about how fast he is. Kid's also strong as an ox. You see him, he uploads some of those workout videos from
crazy workout videos.
Yeah, he is just so strong, man. It's impressive.
Yeah. So let's keep going. Ricardo Jones he's out of Warner Robins, which is basically the Macon area, perfectly equidistant, almost to the exact mile between Clemson and Florida State. And those were his final two schools. And then I thought he was going to Tennessee there for a minute as I was watching him. He put on pulled off his shirt or his jacket. He had a Tennessee shirt on. He had a Tennessee hat. I had already recorded my Ricardo Jones to Clemson video. I was ready to post. I was stunned. And then he took off the hat, threw it away, took off the shirt. He had a Clemson shirt on, put the Clemson hat on. Huge win over Florida State. He's 6'3", 200. I watched his tape. I was really impressed with his speed and his physicality. What do you think of Ricardo Jones?
Physicality, you said it. That's what stands out to me. He is an extremely physical safety. And, I don't think he made very many fans in Knoxville with that announcement. He got a lot of hate over that thing, and it was, it's kind of, to me, it's kind of the way he did it. He just sat there and let it sit for a minute.
I believed it. He got me.
A lot of people, he let it simmer so long. I raised my eyebrow for a minute there, but this is another guy with a ton of potential, very high ceiling, very, huge upside, physical, very good coverage skill. He can play up close on the line of scrimmage if you need him to. I mean, he is so impressive, man. Mickey Conn continues to get it done on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, he's a great recruiter. I mean, Sherrod Koval's a really high recruit, but even some of the lower guys are still lower 4-stars. I mean, Mickey Conn, people thought it was kind of a nepotism hire, but, last year the safeties weren't as good as they probably could have been. Makuba wasn't healthy, but on the recruiting trail, he's been great. I think this year you'll see the safety play really elevate. Let's keep moving. Let's not stop there too long. Darian Mayo is a 6'7" defensive end. He's a 4-star guy. Your thoughts on Darian Mayo? Kind of an interesting guy at that size.
I love this take. He is long, athletic, strong, and fast. I think Clemson wanted to get longer and more athletic at defensive end than they have in the last couple of classes. And this guy fits that bill. 6'7", 250 pounds. He is a mountain of a man. He has an explosive first step. He is going to be a fantastic pass rusher at the collegiate level. And let's face it, Clemson's a little thin at defensive end. They kind of need to restock that cupboard, and they've done that in this class, or they've done that in the last class and have tried to keep doing it in this class with the addition of Mayo. Still need one more.
Yeah, no, it's critical. I was surprised that C.J. Jackson, could have went to, I believe, Clemson or Alabama, chose Georgia Tech. Huge for Georgia Tech, but yeah, Clemson need another defensive end, but that just makes Darian Mayo even more critical. One thing I heard from JD Magny, great YouTube channel for Clemson fans, by the way, he was saying someone of that size will tend to be great in run defense and might struggle a little bit more in pass rushing, as it's, just a little harder to get around people. Any initial thoughts on just his style of play? I don't know. For me, it's a little harder to tell for that position on tape.
I don't know. I love what I've seen on film from him. Again, I think he's got an explosive first step. We'll see. He's going to need a little bit of coaching up when he gets to the next level. He might not be that plug and play type guy, but I think he's got all the tools, and if he can take to the coaching, he's going to be extremely good.
Gotcha. Well, let's move to Heaven Brown Schuler, big guy, 6'4", 290 defensive tackle. First question, I think I know the answer to this, but should I think of him more of a Dexter Lawrence or a Christian Wilkins in kind of a best case scenario?
I would probably lean towards Dexter Lawrence. He eats up a lot of space. I think he's one of the better interior guys in this class. He can get after the quarterback, when he needs to, but I think he is going to be a guy that can be really good against the run, plug up holes, like I said, eat up space. I think he's got a very, very high upside too. Nick Eason loves him. That tells me all I need to know.
There's a lot.
Yeah, if Nick Eason likes you, man, that ought to do it. That ought to be enough for all of us. But he was kind of the guy at defensive tackle from the get-go. They honed in on him from the very beginning. He was the guy they wanted. I know they landed Champ Thompson earlier, but Heaven Brown Schuler was the guy at the top of the board, and they ended up with him. And there's a reason for that, because he shows a lot of upside on film. He uses his hands well, but again, for me, he eats up space, man. He'll sort those double teams and let his teammates let his teammates eat. Let's say it like that.
Yeah. So let's go slightly out of order here. I'm going to jump down the board and let's talk about Champ Thompson, who you just mentioned. He was a 4-star at a .8946, a little bit of a lower 4-star, but nonetheless a 4-star, 6'3", 275. How should Clemson fans think about him?
I hadn't watched a lot of his tape since he committed. That's been a while back, but I remember my impressions where he's going to be a little bit more raw than Schuler is. He might need a little bit more time. If I don't know if you saw it yesterday, it might have been the day before yesterday, but he posted a photo of himself on Twitter from a few months ago, and then one from yesterday or the day before yesterday. He has transformed his body. He looks like a different guy. You can tell he has been putting in work in the weight room. It doesn't say what he's weighing right now. He looks extremely toned down, man. You can tell he has really worked hard on his body, and it's showing. So it looks like he is going to be in tremendous shape when he gets here.
That's great to hear. Hey, we got 3 more guys to go through before we do. Just again, folks, please like this video and again, subscribe to this channel. I'm trying to grow it to 500 before the start of the season. If you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. Again, this is Jason Priester of allclemsontigers.com. Be sure to give him a follow on Twitter. Jason, let's keep going down. Noah Dixon, a .9142, a 4-star, and a safety. Rated a little bit lower than Ricardo Jones, but nonetheless a 4-star safety. What are your thoughts on Noah Dixon?
Excellent cover skills. Maybe not quite the physicality of Ricardo Jones, but he's got a little bit of physicality to him too. You can play him up close if you need to, but I think this gives Clemson two extremely talented safeties. Like I said, Mickey Conn just keeps killing it. I really like Noah Dixon too. He seems like a guy that is the perfect culture fit for Clemson. He's not all about himself. Rarely does interviews. Just doesn't put a lot of stuff out there. Those are the kind of kids I really like, man. I don't know
Oh
why.
yeah,
He kind of
yeah,
just keep to himself yeah, I just think he's I know we're talking about on the field stuff, but I think he's just the perfect cultural fit here.
yeah. And you say that it's not like he's some walk on or some low 3-star. He's still a 4-star recruit. I will note that at 5'11", 165, he's about my size. So that's kind of I know who I am, and I'm not getting on the field. So
he's going to need a little bulk, absolutely. He's long, he's athletic, but he's going to need some bulk, make no mistake.
Gotcha. And then Tavoy Fegan is a cornerback, another 4-star, .9120. Oh, I'm sorry. I said it wrong. He's the one who's 5'11", 165. Noah Dixon, 6'2", 185. He's definitely bigger than me. But Tavoy Fegan is not that short at all, but not a big, thick guy, but a cornerback, that's probably okay. Clemson hasn't, we talk about wide receiver even when you talk about defensive tackle where Clemson's great, I would lean, and I'd have to look at numbers, but I'd lean to cornerback and Mike Reed being the most productive position at Clemson, at least in terms of NFL players getting drafted. So many guys, A.J. Terrell and so many others. Can Tavoy, is he good enough to kind of follow that train? I mean, Nate Wiggins maybe the next one, and is Tavoy Fegan next in that line?
There's a lot of things I like about Tavoy Fegan. He's going to need some weight when he gets here, but he's long. He's your typical Mike Reed corner. And I kind of go back to what I said about Nick Eason. If there's something Mike Reed sees in you that he likes, you're getting the benefit of the doubt with me. Because that guy is probably the best cornerback coach in the country. There's a reason Georgia's tried to poach him multiple times. I think he's got the cover skills. We'll see if he can put on the necessary weight and keep the required speed. But again, there's a lot to like about him. He's long, he's athletic. He's a typical Mike Reed corner. He's just going to need to put on some weight when he gets there because he's still very much on the thin side.
Hey, 165 is not so bad,
Me too.
All right, there's one more guy I want to talk about. And in particular, there was some stuff you guys were saying in that live show for All Clemson Tigers, which, by the way, is on YouTube and definitely worth listening to. Is Drew Woodaz, linebacker, 6'3", 200. Obviously, the younger brother of Wade Woodaz. He's a 3-star and not even like bordering on 4-star. He's a .8585. But I think Clemson's kind of got the inside track both in recruiting him, but also seeing him. And one thing I really like about this class is they didn't, at least not yet, they haven't filled it up with a bunch of lower end 3-stars just to get numbers. I almost feel sometimes they do that just to hit numbers because they're not going to take a transfer. So they're just going to take the guy now and just develop him over the next 3 years, which is a totally different game than grabbing a transfer if you need it right away. But to me, Drew Woodaz is not that. I mean, the way his brothers developed and some of the tape on Drew, yeah, he's not highly rated, but he's a good linebacker.
Drew Woodaz wasn't very highly rated either, and we all saw he was capable of coming in and playing right away.
Wait.
That's not easy to do as a linebacker in this Clemson defense. Even though Venables is gone and Wes Goodwin's running it now, it's still not easy to do as a linebacker. I know they've simplified a lot of things, but it's still, it's still complex for a linebacker. It's a lot to learn, and Woodaz came in here and did it. And there are a lot of people who think Drew is a little more polished at this point in his career than Wade was, and I think that's saying a lot. If you watch the film, there is a lot to like about him. He's flying all over the field. He could be one of those, just like his brother. He could be one of those hybrid type guys. Man, you can play him at the Sam. There's a lot of things you can do with him. I think he's going to be very impactful for this defense in a similar way to his brother.
So to wrap up, Clemson definitely still needs to add a defensive end if possible to the class of 2024. That or they'll have to look to the portal, which they don't seem like they want to do. So look for a defensive end. is there any other position on defense that you think they'll not that they'll just, they'll get the best guy, it'll be an overtime, but position they really need to grab to finish off this defensive class?
You need one more defensive end, and you need one more corner.
Corner, yes, because it's just the one, just to avoid Fegan right now.
I'm going to take two. Corey and Gibson's the guy. He was here that first weekend in June. I think he's coming down to Clemson in Texas. He took his last official visit to Texas last weekend. We'll see. I said it yesterday. I still think when it's all said and done, Clemson lands Gibson. I might be way off base there. I don't know. It's just something in my gut telling me that. I know there are people in his camp pushing him towards Texas, but I think those voices are going to get outweighed, and he's going to end up at Clemson. I know his family loved it up there. He was a guy I actually thought might commit after the spring game when he visited then. I thought he was a guy that might commit right after the big official visit weekend. I thought he would go ahead, or he could possibly go ahead and shut it down, but that didn't happen. So there's been a couple of times, sounds like he's been close a couple of times, but there has just been something holding him back. Maybe he just needed to go see these other places. I still think Clemson gets him at the end of the day. Again, I might be way off base. We'll see. But corner, you need another corner. You need another end.
Gotcha. Well, maybe not quite ready to give the shades, your patented shades, but feeling good.
Yeah, no, we're not quite there yet. We'll see.
All right, Jason. Thank you so much for joining. This has been awesome.
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
All right, thanks.